Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am Jeff Waldorf, host of Logically Left. Uh, Look, it's one of those days. All right. I'm sure y'all understand. All right. So, look, I got some very, very important stories that I'm going to cover today. The LA or California protests that are continuing to happen, Trump's response to that, as well as Christy Noem uh, being, basically shown her own hypocrisy on this issue. Of course, we've got RFK Jr. Gutting the Vaccine Advisory Committee in a big win for anti-vaxxers until they get sick. And then, of course, we have Brad Bondi. So that's Pam Bondi's brother getting just absolutely obliterated in the DC bar election. So there's a little bit of, fun in this one, but there's also a lot of disaster. So why don't we just get right into it? All right. Before I do, please like and share the stream. Helps us out. As always, with that said, just jump right into it. Let's talk about the escalation in LA. Yeah. President Donald Trump has escalated the response to the anti-ICE protests by ordering 2,000 more National Guard troops, along with 700 active duty Marines into California. So this move came on the fourth day of street protests triggered by dozens of illegal immigration arrests. And I'm saying that it's not, what I'm referring to as illegal is the actual arrests, okay? Not the undocumented immigrants. Because what you're having is ICE agents that are essentially going around and snatching people off the street, okay? It's as bad as, it's bad. Let's just say that. It's bad, okay? Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom, of course, went after the move. He did not approve of the National Guard being nationalized and sent into the cities. He posted on X that the Marines also shouldn't be deployed on American soil, facing their own countrymen to fulfill the deranged fantasy of a dictatorial president. This is un-American. He also had previously posted this, quote, "I was just informed Trump is deploying another 2,000 Guard troops to LA. The first 2,000 given no food or water. Only approximately 300 are deployed. The rest are sitting unused in federal buildings without orders. This isn't about public safety. It's about stroking a dangerous president's ego. This is reckless, pointless, and disrespectful to our troops." Now, look, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I'm not a fan of Gavin Newsom, okay? However, got to give it to him here. This is a correct response. Correct. All right. So look, you got to call it the way you see it. You got to call it the way you see it. Okay. Now, here's the thing. What's going on here is pretty simple. You had protests that started out largely peaceful. The police came in, they agitated the crowd. So the crowd, of course, is going to react, and being humans, that's kind of what happens. And then, of course, the police then have the justification to do mass arrests, and Trump gets his ammunition in saying that, these are all the riots, insurrection, send in the troops. That's what happened. And by the way, the administration also apparently has the optics. The side of the protesters don't. For example, the burning of the Waymo robo-taxis and people waving Mexican flags. Now, I don't really care about either of those things, and I'm being honest about that, right? Robo-taxis, don't care. Mexican flags, also, don't care. Look, to all the people who have a problem with somebody waving a Mexican flag, I gotta ask you, do you also have a problem with people waving the Confederate flag? I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you're only mad when people wave a Mexican flag, but not a Confederate flag, I mean, I gotta question you, okay? I gotta question you. The optics of the Confederate flag, to me, are far, far worse Okay. But yes, look, in general, I like peaceful protest. I prefer that protest stays peaceful. I don't like things getting vandalized, but at the same time, I understand that when you push people so far, they are going to react. And react they have. And again, what are they reacting to? ICE going into schools, kidnapping and deporting children. They're going into the hospitals. They're going into the immigration courtrooms where people are doing their mandated check-ins and just abducting them anyway without any due process. They're covering up their faces. They're refusing to show badges. And as a result of all of that, by the way, you've got people that are going in and impersonating ICE in order to do crimes. Okay? There's a woman that was, again, there's a fake ICE impersonator coming in and handcuffing and robbing a woman of like $1,000. I mean, that's just one of the many instances of people that are impersonated ICE, and that's because ICE is currently a lawless rogue agency. That's what they are. Okay, the abolish ICE people, which again I was part of. Turns out we were right the whole time. Who knew? Yeah. But again, back in March, by the way, ICE raided a birthday party in Texas, claiming that it was a gang meeting from Trendagra. Yeah, that's it. That we got to go in. We got to go in. We're going to throw flashbangs at this child's birthday party. Yeah. 47 people ended up getting arrested, including 9 kids. Okay. None of the people that they arrested had any gang ties or even criminal records whatsoever. According to the Texas Tribune, some of the people ended up in ICE detention for weeks and ended up getting released with ankle monitors, like they're, prisoners, criminals, whatever. One of the kids that was arrested actually ended up getting kicked out of school because they missed so many days because they were stuck in detainment. None of them were charged criminally. None of them. This is why people are protesting, and yes, in some cases, rioting. Look, Martin Luther King Jr. said that riots are the language of the unheard. And Trump and his authoritarian friends want to make sure that these people stay unheard, because when you hear the actual stories, when you know the actual facts, it is absolutely outrageous what is going on. So I get it. Now, sending in the Marines, though, that is a very significant escalation here, and one that is completely unnecessary. In fact, staffers at U.S. Senator Alex Padilla's office and the offices of some of the state's congressional delegation had been told by contacts on the House and Senate Armed Forces Committee that, again, they were coming anyway, right? And that is even as local Marine commanders were pushing back, saying, we don't need that. Okay, we don't need this deployment. It is unnecessary. It is not justified. And why is it? It's because currently they're not allowed, okay, both the National Guard and the Marines are not allowed to be active in law enforcement actions, which would be a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. Just saying. That said, of course, Trump could get around that, but he would have to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807. That, however, he would have to, in order to do that, prove that there's an insurrection. He could say it all day long, but a few robo-taxis being set on fire as a response to illegal raids, that's bad, but not an insurrection. That does not an insurrection make. A few burnt cars. I mean, when you think about it, there are soccer matches, right? The aftermath of soccer matches that have seen more inflamed cars than this, okay? I'm just saying, like, it's vandalism, yes, absolutely. You could even call it a riot, sure. But you could also characterize it as self-defense against a tyrannical government, which isn't that, I mean, I don't, isn't there supposed to be some organization that, promotes gun ownership and usage And thankfully, we're not there. And I'm not advocating for that. All right. But I'm just saying there's supposed to be an organization out there that says we should be allowed to push back against a tyrannical government. And yet here we are. We have a tyrannical government. But where is that organization? Yeah, I don't know. This government, though, keeps making up emergencies like a non-existent invasion, okay, in order to do white supremacy. And his supporters, by the way, are all about it. All about it. I mean, Charlie Kirk, right, is out there, and not only him, but Matt Walsh. They're out there saying we should just ban all immigration. All of it. Legal, illegal, doesn't matter. We're going to ban all immigration. And you know why? Because it was never about going after illegals. This was always about trying to stop all immigration from non-white countries. The sooner people understand that and realize that is the real goal here, the more I hope that people will begin to stand up against it. Hilarious thought. Trump refuses to help states begging for FEMA assistance, yet uses force on states not asking for his help. Yes, Coffee Crow, that is an excellent, excellent point. Escalation 5 says the NRA is on the side of tyranny. Yes, I know. Shocker, right? Are we at all surprised? We shouldn't be. Okay. Moving on.
We'll do it live!
Okay. Anyway. Amid the crackdown on protest in California following the illegal ICE raids, the Trump administration has called in both the National Guard and active duty Marines. So there's over 4,000 now National Guardsmen that are going to California, and about 700 active duty Marines. They can't do anything, not until Trump actually invokes the Insurrection Act. Okay. But now they're going there anyway, even though they can't do anything. They can't actually be part of law enforcement actions because it would be against posse comitatus. But anyway, that is much to the cheers of MAGA chuds. You see, they want the violence. They're itching for the state-sanctioned violence against what they view as the left. Okay? Now, one of those who happens to be super thrilled to be a part of this whole thing is Homeland Security Secretary Christy Noem, puppy killer herself, who on Sunday endorsed Donald Trump's use of troops in Los Angeles and claimed that the deployment was necessary because of the bad decisions by California Governor Gavin Newsom. She said if Newsom was doing his job, our ICE agents would not be injured and attacked while doing their jobs, carrying out immigration enforcement, which, by the way, illegal immigration enforcement. They're not doing due process. They're using the wrong kind of warrants, administrative warrants, not judicial warrants, to deport people after kidnapping them. Okay? And these people are either here legally and in some cases have even been American citizens. They're just grabbing anyone who looks Hispanic off the street. Okay? That's what they're doing. She added this. Under the leadership of POTUS, Trump, we will put the safety of American citizens first, not these criminal, illegal aliens that sanctuary city politicians are defending. Again, so few of those being arrested and deported are actually criminals. Okay? Being here without documentation at most is a civil infraction, a misdemeanor. While ICE is out there snatching people up at work, birthday parties, or they're waiting outside of immigration courtrooms. They're sending 4-year-olds with cancer out of the country. That's who they're arresting and deporting. 4-year-olds, not criminal gang members, but children. Okay? Did you vote for this? And if you did, well, you're a monster. Simple as that. I mean, again, if you support this, then at least own it. Because I don't want to hear your bullshit excuses. I don't really care. I'm not one of those members of the tolerant left you keep hearing about. I'm very intolerant of Nazis. Just saying. Getting back to one, Noem added this. That's one of the reasons why these National Guard soldiers are being federalized. So they can use their special skill set to keep peace. Special skill set, huh? What special skill set is that, huh? Does that include shooting reporters with rubber bullets? Or arresting them for actually reporting on what's going on the ground? She's doing plenty of that. Special skill set. Now, people on social media responded to, well, Christy Noem's sudden embrace of violating states' rights by pointing out that not too long ago, she happened to have been against that whole thing. Huh. Here's what she said to Sean Hannity.
Recognizing the real threat that was to states' rights and how that would be the first time in history a president would pay a soldier to not fight, to not protect our country, made me show up in Texas the next day to let Governor Abbott know I'm here. South Dakota is with you. We will defend our Constitution. We will defend our rights, because the last several years we've seen the Democrats take away our freedom of religion, our freedom of assembly, our freedom of speech. We can't let them take away our states' rights, too, especially our right to protect ourselves.
Literally none of those things happened. Okay? None of those things happened under President Joe Biden. But it doesn't matter. She lies easily, very easily. But here, I want to give you the responses here. For one, Governor Gavin Newsom. He just said, reposting this clip, this aged well. Yeah. Like milk. All right? On a hot day. Other people weighed in. Jay Williams said, turns out the lady that kills puppy is also a hypocrite on states' rights. States' rights? What about states' rights? I hate states' rights. Send in the military. That's what she's doing. Sam Short says, in the coming days, no one will say exactly the complete opposite of everything she said in this tweet about Joe Biden because they're in a cult. No, well, they're also just because of they're authoritarians. That's what they are. Dennis Consort says, yep, only a tyrant would federalize the National Guard against the request of a sitting elected state governor. Every accusation is a confession. Jeff Bishop points out, she wasn't wrong. If Biden had done that, what Trump is doing now, that would have indeed been a direct attack on states' rights. Yeah. Which, by the way, is one of the reasons Joe Biden didn't do it. But here's the thing, okay? No amount of hypocrisy in the world is going to be enough to dissuade these people. They do not care. The only reason to bring this up is to remind people who keep putting these people into power that, hey, your decisions allowed this to happen. Look, I don't know. I have this weird assumption, and maybe I'm wrong, okay, that so many of the general voting public have no idea what's going on. They don't pay attention. They live in the bubbles, and they have no idea. And look, there are good reasons, by the way. Number one, information overload. There's just too much out there. There's too much out there. You also have the struggle of barely being able to make the bills. So you're more worried about that, putting food on the table, getting the bills paid, than what's going on in the news cycle. I get it. The fact that social media is just a complete and utter wasteland. I think a lot of that stuff, and there are other factors probably as well, that are just making most of us just want to check out mentally. All right? Maybe this is just me doing some cope, okay? Some cope on my part. I just don't want to believe that so many people are complete and utter shit. I just don't. So, I don't know. Maybe that's me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay? Maybe I'm wrong and most people are shit. I don't know. I hope not. I'm hoping that enough people see the reality of who people like Christy Noem are. and turn against her and the people like her. Again, maybe it's just cope, but maybe it isn't. I just know that at the end of the day, I want to live in a world and I want to believe that people are better than this. But I don't know. I just don't know anymore. Moving on. On Monday, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy announced that he has fired every single member of an advisory committee on vaccines. Because, of course. And what he claimed was a bold step, perhaps if you are pro-measles. The brainworm that is driving RFK's body said that he was retiring all 17 members of the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices. That committee issues reports to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on vaccine efficacy. In an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, where he made this announcement, he followed it up with an official announcement saying, today we are prioritizing the restoration of public trust above any specific pro or anti-vaccine agenda, which of course means that it's going to be an anti-vaccine agenda. The public must know that unbiased science evaluated through a transparent process and insulated from conflicts of interest guides the recommendations of our health agencies. Now, look, if you listen to the words that he is saying, that kind of sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, we all want unbiased science. We want transparency. I do not like conflicts of interest. You don't like conflicts of interest. The only problem here is that I don't believe him. I think he is a liar and a grifter. Look, Kennedy claims without any evidence to back it up that ECIP has been, quote, plagued with persistent conflicts of interest, becoming nothing more than a rubber stamp for vaccines. Once again, vaccines that are safe and effective. And said that a clean sweep is needed to reestablish public confidence in vaccine science. Now, look, I may be an idiot, all right? But I have noticed that the only reason there is a lack in public confidence for vaccines is because of people like RFK Jr. That's what it seems like to me. I mean, you got these grifters, you got people selling alternative medicines that don't actually do anything, that don't actually work, and actually harm you. So, I mean, look, I have an issue, yes, with Big Pharma. Y'all know this. This issue is not related to the safety and efficacy of vaccines or the science behind them. That is solid. The issue that I have is the greed of the companies that continue to gatekeep life-saving medications away from the general public so that their CEOs can afford to buy an extra yacht. Okay? That's it. The problem was not the safety of vaccines. The problem is keeping insulin out of the hands of the people who need it. That's the real issue. RFK Jr. is going after the wrong people for the wrong thing. There is a very good reason that a lot of people do not have trust in these companies. And that is why. The greed. Pharmaceutical greed is a real thing. The lies about vaccines, not a real thing. Look, among those, though, that he clean swept out of advising on vital public health measures were people like Albert Shaw, a Yale professor of medicine specializing in infectious diseases among the elderly. A Yale professor, Edwin Asturias, a professor of pediatrics and infectious diseases epidemiology at the University of Colorado, and Helen Talbot, a professor of medicine and health policy at Vanderbilt. So these people that have, I don't know, education, they're educated people, know what they're talking about. Those people are gone. Brain drain. It's gone. Nope. Not going to have smart people in charge anymore. We're going to put dumb people in charge that are just meat suits driven by a worm. That's what's going on here. I mean, wow. But anyway, in order to justify this clean sweep, which is ironic for someone who just recently was photographed swimming in a shit-filled river. Yeah. Anyway, the HHS secretary cited a 2009 HHS Inspector General report that showed that 97% of ACIP members did not fully complete a conflict of interest form.
Oh, no!
No, oh, we got him. Conflict of interest. Oh, my God. Except no. It turns out the forms Kennedy referred to that were marked as incomplete were due to minor errors. What minor errors were there? Well, they, I guess, forgot to initial and date a couple of pages. Oh, my God. Oh, you got him. Oh, you really got him. Except no, there was no evidence of any sort of financial conflicts of interest here at all. And so, again, that's not even the problem, though, that Kennedy had with these people. No, he said the real problem was their immersion in a system of industry-aligned incentives and paradigms that enforce a narrow pro-industry orthodoxy. So, apparently this pro-industry orthodoxy just means being in favor of vaccines that have been proven safe and effective through rigorous testing. Ah, yes. Look, anti-vaxxers hate the fact that the science is not on their side. And you know why? Because it hurts their own cottage industries of selling dubious, unregulated substances as miracle cures. These are the snake oil salesmen. RFK Jr. is a snake oil salesman. He'd be out there peddling the newest miracle cure if he wasn't head of HHS. Complete and utter grifter. These are the same people that told you during COVID to go get horse paste. All right? The same people who listened to Trump when he said that you should inject bleach into your veins or stick a light bulb up your ass. That's their medical advice. And you want to listen to those people? You want to listen to those people? Come on. They are not medical experts. They're idiots. They're grifters, con artists, or they're just plain stupid. And they are going to get people killed. In fact, they already have. People have died from the measles outbreaks that the anti-vaxxers have allowed to happen. Including a child, by the way. That's what's going on. These people didn't vaccinate their kids, and now one of their kids is dead. That's what happens when you follow RFK Jr.'s advice. That's what happens. That's it. Look, public health expert Dr. Neil Stone pushed back on this on social media. Here's what he wrote. Quote, "It should come as no surprise that as HHS secretary, he is pursuing his dream of tearing down the vaccine programs that have saved lives and prevented horrific infections. He's a villain." Yes, he is a villain. This comes just days after pediatric infectious disease expert Dr. Lakshmi, I'm going to have a hard time with this one, Panagiotopoulos stepped down from her position as co-leader of a CDC group behind the agency's COVID vaccine recommendations. Though she did not cite any specific reason for her decision, she reportedly said in an email that her career in public health and vaccinology started with a deep-seated desire to help the most vulnerable members of our population And that is not something I am able to continue doing in this role. 4 days before announcing her departure, Kennedy changed the guidelines around COVID vaccines for healthy children and pregnant women, removing them from the CDC recommended immunization schedule. She's right, though. I mean, at the end of the day, the CDC is no longer there to look out for people who are sick. They now only seem to exist to protect the fragile feelings of the right-wing man babies who got so mad that they had at one point had to wear masks at Applebee's. That's it. Everything that is happening now, and I'm not just talking about the vaccine stuff, I'm talking about a lot of what's wrong with our government today is a result of coddling angry right-wing man babies and conspiracy theorists. That's it. Let me tell you. Okay, hear me now, quote me later. Nothing, and I mean nothing, ever, nothing good ever comes from coddling the far right. Okay. And yet that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. It is, I mean, it just feels like we are so truly and completely screwed. Okay. Move on here in just a minute. I actually have only one more story for you today. So I apologize for that. It's just been one of those days. But I want to end it on a good note. So let's do it. Brad Bondi, the brother of Attorney General Pam Bondi, just had his election hopes dashed in his bid for president of the DC Bar Association. And he is, of course, melting down as a result. That's right. In a post to LinkedIn, he had accused rabid partisans of setting out to damage his reputation. Are you sure you didn't already do that? Here's what he said. Their tactics, which included smearing me over my family and peddling conspiracies about my intentions, were not just an assault on my integrity, but on the DC Bar's very mission. Oh, you smear him over family, huh? Okay, look, hey, to be fair, Pam Bondi, yes, is a disaster, but that's not his fault that he's related to her. So, okay, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. That said, okay, let's address the conspiracy theories about his intentions. Are they conspiracies? Well, turns out that members of the DC Bar were concerned that selecting Bondi would enable the Trump administration to gain some influence over the group. Okay, that's not really a conspiracy theory, because look, I would say that there's pretty good reason to be concerned there. Since his reelection, Donald Trump has used his power to cow multiple law firms that he had perceived as adversaries. He has successfully gotten these firms to do pro bono work on causes that are friendly to his agenda. Basically using executive orders to browbeat these organizations into compliance. All right, that's it. He had issued multiple executive orders that would have denied them government access if they did not capitulate to the demands of this administration, which of course hurts them, would have potentially hurt them financially. Look, Trump has been at war with lawyers and judges since he was able to get the power to do so. That is not a conspiracy, that is real. The irony, of course, is that these law firms that bent the knee to Donald Trump are now, losing business. Oh, of course. Yeah, that's great. I think it's awesome. You know why they're losing business is because, well, nobody wants to hire a firm that has no stomach for a fight. They just don't. Oftentimes, the government is a defendant in a lot of these cases. And so if you comply in advance to the government, you are showing any prospective clients that you will fold like a cheap suit, which is not good. It's not good for business, and it's also not good for democracy, as lawsuits have a way of getting things done in the government. That said, his opponent, Diane A. Seltzer, who runs a law firm, defeated Bondi by quite a margin. 34,982 votes to 3,490. That, my friends, is a complete and utter blowout. It's not even close. Holy crap. Now, here's what she said on the bar's website after her win. Quote, "We have a bar full of lawyers who care about making sure their leadership reflects their values, which are maintaining the rule of law," something that this administration doesn't care about, "being able to practice law without fear of retaliation." This administration wants to continue to retaliate, and having a leader who is experienced and has the qualifications to be in that position. There you go. Bondi, however, his reaction was, "I had hoped this race would be a contest of ideas to enhance services for our widely varied members. Instead, I am disgusted by how rabid partisans lurched this election into the political gutter, turning a professional campaign into baseless attacks, identity politics, and partisan recrimination." Yeah, cry more, loser. All right. I'm shocked, actually, that he didn't try to jam the word woke in there. I was half expecting it. I don't know if you were, but I was definitely expecting him to start, raging about woke or something.
Woke, woke, woke.
Because that's what these people do. I'm actually kind of surprised that didn't happen. But here's the thing, though, that makes it even sweeter. Okay? That this election, even more of a blowout. According to DC Bar CEO Bob Spagnoletti, this election had a 43% turnout. Wait a minute, that's less than half. What do you mean that's a good news? How is that good? Well, because it turns out that the turnout here was actually more than 5 times the norm in a typical DC bar election. Yeah. I mean, so you're talking about voter apathy among the general electorate, right? That's pretty bad. But in the DC bar, that apathy was way bigger, much more apathy. People just not getting involved. But with this guy, Brad Bondi, trying to be the president of the DC bar, lawyers were like, "Oh, hell no. Oh, are you freaking kidding me? No, not gonna happen." And that's exactly what they did too, okay?
Can't let that happen.
And they turned out and they crushed this guy. And by the way, this is a stunning rebuke of the Trump administration and a very clear sign and a good sign that the DC bar is actually ready to fight. And that's good because we need fighters. We need people to go after this administration in the courtrooms and make the case. And by the way, this guy is not the only one to lose, which is also funny. You also have another prosecutor, Alicia Long, who was an advisor to the failed U.S. Attorney nominee Ed Martin, and is now working with alleged drunk Jeanine Pirro. She ended up losing her bid to become the DC bar's treasurer. Good. Get wrecked. Look, lawyers do not need to be kissing the ass of Trump and his administration or his friends. Okay, what they need to do is to be able to actually represent their clients, whether it be a private business or an organization that might be suing their government. At the end of the day, people want lawyers that will actually fight for them. Lawyers that fight for their clients. Imagine that. Yes, that is what people want. That is what people need. They do not need people that are willing to prop up what is essentially a lawless presidential administration. And that's it. So, awesome news from the DC bar. Awesome news from lawyers and the judicial system, which is actually really the only major opposition that we have seen so far, aside from protesters. And so, unsurprisingly, here we have the law, the lawyers, the judicial system pushing back and preventing the takeover that unfortunately happened on the Supreme Court and happened in Congress. And you can see the result of that. Two very important branches of the government that are not willing to push back on this criminal administration. But at least you have the lawyers now and the judges that are, when it is appropriate and when it is necessary. And believe me, it is very appropriate and very necessary to push back on these assholes. Half-empty box of wine Puro. There you go. All right. You know, unfortunately, that's all I got today. So, sorry about that. It's just there's a lot to do. Tomorrow, big announcement here. Tomorrow, I will be starting on this space. So this space, it's a new channel. I'll be doing my live stream on this space. So I will post out the URL for that, but I will be on that channel doing the live show and then posting the videos here on my normal channel. So all that stuff, the normal clips are not going to change, but the live show will be on this space instead. So I'm working together with them, with the Letter Hack, with Andrew Ravensky, Benjamin Dixon, Humanist Report, all of them. They're all going to be doing shows on this space. So it's going to be a lot of fun, working with other people and trying to create more of a centralized, progressive network. So I'm really excited to be able to work with them and to be, just doing my normal thing, doing my live show. But this time I'll have more of a home. So that's what it feels like. And I can't wait to start working with them and start doing live shows on that channel, on that network. And so, it's going to be good. And hopefully, we can all start to showcase progressive heavy hitters that have not capitulated to enlightened centrism or any of that crap. No, that are actually going to promote and stand by progressive values. Yes, the YouTube feed will be live on that. All of the shows, most of the shows, I can't say all of them, but most of the shows will be live. I will be live for sure. And so you'll just have to go and check that out. I'll post a link for you all tomorrow in our community feed and on my social media. So if you're not following me on BlueSky, you probably should. So should be a lot of fun, though, being on that network. So check that out. And check out the shows before me. Check out the shows after me. It all is going to be absolutely fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to that. And with that said, I'm going to end the stream today. But again, make sure if you missed the live shows tomorrow, you can always come back and watch the clips and stuff on our on the channel here, or sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf, and get the live show ad free. Let's see. Why is it on so much of us left-wing social media? I see people assume PR statehood is left-wing when every global sovereignty movement is leftist, like Palestine and others. I'm not entirely sure what other people think. I do believe, though, that yes, Puerto Rico, yeah, it should be a state. I mean, they should have representation in Congress, and I think that's what's really important. But I can't speak for other people. Again, I can't really speak. It's basically fighting for representation, and I believe in that. So, all right. Anyway, that's I'm gonna head out here. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you for the super chats, Coffee Crow and VMan 29397. Appreciate that, everyone. Love you all. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you back tomorrow at this space. Yes, on this space, and for the new live show. All right. Love you all. We'll see you tomorrow.